Who gon' take it there? 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 Electricity, 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 electricity. You know what's in the air. 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 It's possibility. It's possibility. It's possibility. It's possibility.
All right, so Tim Heidecker did his first broadcast as his new Alex Jones character under the Infowars banner because in the lawsuit that Alex Jones was facing, where he essentially had to give up his company because of his defamation and targeted harassment of Sandy Hook victims' families. Essentially, the Onion has been in a long-term bid to try to buy the company up since it's being liquidated. There's a lot of legal complications around that, continuing up through this moment where essentially it's been declared that the Onion will license the right to use Infowars and all of its assets. So that's been held up in court yet again, and like I said, I'll get to all that. But despite that, Tim Heidecker went out on the Onion's platform, so not yet able to broadcast from Infowars or the Infowars site, but was able to go on the Onion and essentially broadcast under the Infowars name. So here's Tim Heidecker doing his new Alex Jones character, and then we'll get to some of the details of what's going on here.
Tim Heidecker here. I'm broadcasting now live on the internet. Thank you for joining me. We have major announcements to go through here. Lots going on. Lot of turmoil the past couple of days. On our road to total victory, we have just won a major battle, folks. Okay, Alex and his gang of liars and scoundrels have been cast out into the street. They have lost Infowars, Infowars.com, and their various platforms now. They have been cast out, ladies and gentlemen. And make no mistake, we will be the new Infowars. Now, we got to go through the machinations of the court, and we've had some setbacks over the past couple of days, but that is not stopping us. It is not tempering our resolve. In the past couple of days, my reputation as a comedian and as a podcaster and as an actor, if I look familiar to you, you might have seen me in the movie Bridesmaids and a number of other pictures and television shows, as well as my own work. My reputation has come under attack by Alex Jones and his cabal of liars and scoundrels and criminals. And I can tell you it's been difficult for me and my family, but my resolve has only been strengthened by this. I can weather these personal attacks. You can come at me all day long, and I will remain firm and strong. We have also established something really historic, folks. We have created an alliance between the Lord God and Satan himself. We have communicated with, through spiritual practice, through demon rituals. We have gotten together, Lord Almighty and his son, to come together at the bargaining table or in a neutral ground. Not heaven, not hell. But we have communicated to them that we want an alliance of hell and heaven to push us through these final moments here. We have so much to get to. I am confirming now, I am wearing his skin. I've been wearing his skin now for about 2 weeks, and it is tough skin. It is Texas skin. It's leathery, and Old Spice is the main fragrance, as well as various alcoholic beverages. You will find us at the Onion.info and wherever else. And soon we'll be on Infowars.com. If my satanic ritual, which we began this morning, is any indication, we are confident that we will be victorious. Once more, I did this earlier this morning, but I'm going to sip from the blood of the Forsaken. This is real human blood. You can find this at the Infowars store. This is human blood curated from the Forsaken and the sinners. All right, this is pure premium blood, tested, FDA unapproved. And this is just human blood. As part of my satanic ritual, I am a servant to Satan, and thank God I was able to get him and the Lord to sit down and come to their senses and get things back to before Satan was cast into hell. So I'm part of that. I'm part of the peace movement. It's thick. It tastes like blood. And this is Satan giving me the powers to continue to fight. And we will continue to fight, and I cheers to you. If you have access to the blood of the Forsaken and of all the children, this is not blood. These are adult. This is adult blood, by the way. Ain't no question. I made sure of that because I don't want to get in trouble. But this is the blood of the Forsaken. It's hot and it tastes good. It's giving me the power. It's like Sun Tzu said, the victor in battle seeks battle only after the victory has been won. And we will win. We will conquer. Infowars forever. You are the Info Warrior. Follow us. Infowars is a movement and you're on it now. You're on our ship. Come on board.
Yeah, so essentially what he's saying here is that they have not been able to take full control of the site and broadcast from there. So this was kind of an announcement to say that there was a last-minute decision from a judge to essentially put a stay on this until it's going to be reviewed further. So Heidecker here is saying that they're confident that, this will continue to go through and they'll continue to be able to use the InfoWars stuff. So that's why they're kind of rolling this out anyway. However, they have admitted on the record that they expect this to lead to more legal traps, as they put it. So it's an example of Alex Jones' legal team finding any way they can to stall and delay this, which is how it's taken this long in the first place, especially if they can get it in front of judges who are more likely to be sympathetic to Alex Jones's cause, which I think is what happened in the case of the original overturning of Onion's purchasing of InfoWars. So like I said, they seem confident that they're still going to ultimately be able to do that even after this original licensing period that they want to do, where they're just licensing the use of the assets of InfoWars. They still say that they're going to buy it after that as well. So they plan for this to be a long-term thing. That being said, there's a lot of legal hurdles in order to get there. Now, Tim Heidecker's impression here, I think is quite good. I think he nails the tone. I think he's not quite in it yet. Like, he's not really sunken into it. And while it's funny, I think that it gets best when he goes really unhinged with it. The drinking blood is great. And I think his general invoking of Alex Jones is really good, and their ability to get absurd with it in a way that has its own unique, like, comedic flavor in the way that Tim Heidecker has done in the past, I think is going to be like what determines how much longevity this has. They don't seem to know. They seem to be like, well, we're going to try this and we're going to try to basically keep doing the InfoWars show with Tim Heidecker as the kind of flagship show, and then have essentially like a comedy website, a satire website with maybe other video content, etc., that branches out from that. It's unclear how much they're going to be able to do, like how much money they're going to be able to pour into this operation. They want to use it solely to raise money for the Sandy Hook families through selling merchandise and stuff like that. So, I mean, is this going to be like a low budget operation? Are they really going to try to pour a bunch of money into it? Are they going to try to find some investment or something for the sake of making it this big production that also goes to a good cause? I'm not really sure. I guess it depends on the popularity of this flagship show. If Tim Heidecker is able to do something with it that is striking, makes a good impression, and is entertaining over a long period of time. It's one thing for there to be the spectacle of how we've taken over Alex Jones' show and we've owned him. We literally own his show now. I think that says a lot, but the ability to do something sustainably entertaining that is going to stay in the sort of attention economy long term is, I think, the challenge here. And I think Tim Heidecker is able to do it. I think personally it's hard for me to imagine this Alex Jones impression having that type of sustainability. Seems like he falls out of it a little bit. Like when he says, it kind of sounds more like Tim Heidecker than it does. So, we'll see. It's practice. I also imagine this is going to be rough on his throat doing this impression all the time. So, there will be, I think, challenges associated with it. But if it is something that is viable and it's a project that Tim Heidecker can kind of just pour himself into, then I think, like I've said previously, it could be like some really generational satire. And it has the power potentially to kind of create that lasting image of parody behind Alex Jones that, because specifically they're taking over the mantle of Infowars, could actually leave a bigger lasting impression on the culture than Alex Jones himself. That's unlikely. The Onion, like I said, they have a lot of cultural power. They got great writers over there, but it's kind of budget, right? Like, they've done video content a few different times and struggled with it because it's hard to do that sustainably. Like I said, I think they actually relaunched that recently. So that's perhaps why they're interested in now folding Infowars into that, to try to make it a larger comedy video, satire video company, which, you know, I do think that that's needed. I think that the Onion is the right people to do it. It's really just a matter of funding and how viable it is in terms of commerce, which is always the thing that gets in the way. And the right wingers can get by having stuff that's like not that commercially viable because they sell bullshit products, they sell garbage, they get funded, bankrolled by billionaires. So it floats them a lot. And you don't see as much of that type of funding when it comes to a project like The Onion. So I'll be interested to see where this goes, and if Tim Heidecker is able to really channel the best of himself through this character. Because, like, as I'm looking at this impression, I think it's a little bit surface level. I love that they're flipping the thing about drinking Satan blood and, you know, the alliance between God and the devil. Doing this like Satanist version of Alex Jones is great. I think the best things that Tim Heidecker has done recently are similar characters that are very layered. Like his comedian character that he did a special as is really layered. And that's part of what makes it interesting and incredibly enrapturing to watch, is that it just feels like you're watching a dude who's cycling through many different emotions. He's getting mad at himself. He's getting mad at the crowd. He's going from overconfidence in himself to kind of like self-hatred, and just watching somebody flail like that live is kind of unique. It's kind of one of a kind. So to be able to do something similar that has a similar impact and a similar entertainment value using this Alex Jones character, like I said, I think it could be generational. And maybe they're just kind of waiting until all this really goes through before they totally double down. It'll be interesting to see if they're like actually taking over the building, like the Infowars building, because Alex Jones is out of there. He had to do his last broadcast, and he said they're shutting off the lights tonight. If you go to Infowars.com right now, it just says they're off air. So they've been shut down because ownership and control of all the assets that amount to Infowars and its parent company have been turned over to somebody who's essentially overseeing the liquidation of those assets. So it's not owned by the Onion or anybody else yet. They had a deal to lease it from that person until they can finalize a deal to actually purchase it. So again, you know, that's been held up in court for now, and we will see if that turns into a long-term holdup. It would be a real shame if they had to interrupt this rollout of, you know, their version of Infowars because it got behind in the courts, etc. That's not impossible, but Alex Jones is saying there's going to be retribution for this. Obviously, there's going to be backlash, and I think there might. It will be genuinely interesting to see how this goes, because Alex Jones has been an interesting test case over the years. He was the first person to get like fully deplatformed, where I remember there was a moment where in coordination all of the big tech companies kind of decided together that they were going to fully kick Alex Jones off the platform. And that was a big issue at the time. It was a big conversation about, is this right? Is it wrong? I think that was actually after the first Trump administration, you know, coming into Biden's administration, and Alex Jones ended up being the one that was like, this is the guy who just obviously goes too far. And I remember there was a lot of discussion around that time about, you know, how Google's algorithm pushed him because the content that he made was so specifically targeted towards a certain type of people, and over time trained the algorithm better and better to expose it to more and more people and sort of radicalize more and more people in the direction of Alex Jones. So in other words, because of the nature of how the internet works and the fact that continuing to keep people fascinated is essentially where the currency of the internet comes from, that happens to just be very compatible with conspiracies and far-right right-wing narratives. And Alex Jones himself is an interesting test case even for that, because he wasn't always the far-right figure that he's become. I mean, he was always far-right in a sense, but he used to be a little bit more what people would consider to be like anti-establishment, libertarian type of guy. Whereas over the years, he drifted towards the conspiracies and towards the things that he could continue to present rabbit holes to his audience that would continue to radicalize them over and over, sort of turning their worldview inside out over and over again, just as a means to keep people engaged and to slowly get them hooked to the supplements that you're selling on your site and stuff. And so because of how much of an impact, a measurable impact he was making internally on these companies and, the data that they were showing and just the fact that they felt culpable in what Alex Jones and others like him were doing, they felt it necessary to completely deplatform him. And that ultimately didn't work. I would say that didn't work not because it is doomed not to work, but because it was simply not done thoroughly enough. And I think in all of these cases, these tech companies, Zuckerberg, and the people responsible for making the decisions about who's going to be censored, what's going to be censored during the initial Trump era, a lot of them were quite feckless and pathetic about it. And, the truth is, if you're going to make a big decision like that, we're going to fully deplatform Alex Jones. And then they ultimately ended up doing the same thing to Trump. And if you're going to do that, then you've got to just be prepared to stand on that decision for a long time and to absorb the backlash that comes with it. And to be fair, I guess in both of these cases, a lot of time passed before they reevaluated those decisions. But really all that changed is it became less culturally friendly to say, yeah, of course we don't have Donald Trump on our platform after he, incited a riot on January 6th. They had regained enough ground, possibly because by forcing right-wingers off of mainstream platforms, they created different channels of communicating with each other. Nick Fuentes has been streaming on Rumble for years. Alex Jones, I guess, streams on his own platform. I don't even know where he streams. He might just stream from his own website, and that's where people have been going to find him this entire time. And his presence has never gone away. So I say all that to say, even now his presence isn't going to go away. He's going to continue. And I think his trajectory is he's going to rebuild under different ownership. So I think he's going to be doing essentially the same thing, but under a structure that he doesn't own himself, which could lead to him saying different types of things, having more restrictions on what he's actually going after. It could end up being somebody who just wants him to keep being Alex Jones and not change a single thing. But the truth is he's still going to be around. So the ability of the Onion to go after this goal and be as relentless as Heidecker is saying about it, I think this is going to be a long-term thing. It's good to get the jokes in the short term, and this looks great, and we'll see what happens with the courts. But this only is worth doing if it is a long-term project to delegitimize the type of propagandizing that Alex Jones does. They do have an opportunity to do that. It's not going to stop others from mimicking Alex Jones, and it's not going to stop Alex Jones himself from continuing to essentially do the same thing. But what it could do is leave a cultural impression that makes it harder for a caricature that looks like that to have the same type of success that Alex Jones had. And it may just end up forcing that enemy to evolve, but it also sets the stage for a little bit more of a semblance of normalcy to take back hold in the cultural conversation. Like, okay, we don't have to pretend that these far-right nut jobs are more normal than we all always knew they were, just because they gained more ground with a lot of people in the country. But the truth is, what determines that is popularity and longevity with those audiences. So we're going to see if the Onion and Tim Heidecker can pull that off, and I'm behind them on it. And hopefully the courts side with them as well.